Hi, I'm Feroz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hi Tiarma, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to be a guest on our podcast.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for asking me. I feel very chosen.
Well, yeah, I saw a couple of your LinkedIn posts, and I thought, she's had quite an interesting journey, so it'd be good to have you on.
Yeah, well, for me, it's just life. I think everyone kind of has
Yeah.
their own way of getting to where we are now. In low code, that's very diverse. But yeah, let's see if it's interesting.
Cool. Well, it'd be good to start with a bit about, yourself, who you are, where you're from, for people who may not know who you are.
Yes. So my name is Tiarma. I'm 34 years old now. It's always when you're young, you don't really you know exactly how old you are, and then you reach an age. I was born and raised in Amsterdam, and I still live here now. So that's not so exotic for me. Didn't live anywhere else. Yeah, what else about me? I live with 2 cats and a dog. I like animals more than people usually, and a lot of plants. Yeah, I think that's me in a nutshell, my
Cool.
personal background.
Cool. And, professionally, it'd be good to kind of understand from, I saw you didn't study IT, right? Did you study music?
Yes.
So obviously, how did it kind of, you started with music, and obviously you're not in the music profession now. So obviously, was that something you just at the time you had a passion for music, growing up, or how did that kind of come about?
No, well, actually, I didn't start with music. I started with
Okay.
psychology.
Yeah.
I studied, I did my first year, and then there was this extra like honors program. I did that, and the normal study of psychology in the Netherlands, it's very like I think 500 people start at the same time, and you get all these mandatory lectures and work groups, etc. And it felt a bit like it was good, like the quality was good, but it wasn't very personal. You feel like cattle going through the material.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine said like, oh, you should do humanitarian studies because the classes there are always really, really small and you'll get a lot of personal like discussions and inputs. And I was like, okay, well, this is my only life on earth. I kind of want that more than
Yeah.
just get ready to get a certain job.
Mm.
And I was making music with my dad and my uncle back then, like playing guitar and singing
Cool.
little bars. So I was already, doing a lot of music as a hobby. And then I was like, whoa, I didn't know you could study this, but let me just do that.
Yeah.
It was actually one of the most difficult things I ever did because I had to learn how to read notes. I couldn't do that.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually failed. That's the only class in life I think that I ever failed because I had to learn. I had to do. You have to. Someone would play the piano and then you had to write down what they were playing. It was.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like for me kind of similar if you have to learn a different alphabet and then someone will say some sentences.
Yeah.
And you have to go like, okay, I wrote down what you said.
Yeah.
But there was a class in there called computational musicology. We used MATLAB there, and I also learned about like Shazam and SoundHound, those kind of
Yeah.
So I was already a bit interested, like how does this work? So we ended up learning a lot about how computers, process sound as well, audio as music, and how they recognize certain musics with database, but also by humming. And there is a certain direction you can take in research called cognitive musicology, which kind of gets me back to the psychology. Mostly research about how do people perceive music and how do sorry, I lost my train of thought completely.
That's fine.
How do people perceive music? And animals can also use music, but they also use it for communication, etc.
Yeah.
So it becomes a lot more psychological research. And there I actually also learned about adaptive learning paradigm and did a lot of coding of experiments also in R and also in MATLAB. So I did realize, like, okay, I do prefer the tech subjects. They bring out something really nice in you. Like you don't really know what you're doing anymore. You do it for something real, like research, but you just kind of lose yourself in the coding. And I really enjoyed it. And then I did my research master's, which is again brain and cognitive sciences, which is more psychology on different levels, like cell level to society. And that there are a lot of MATLAB, basically, again.
Yeah.
So and then I realized university research is not really for me. So I ended up traveling, and then I ran out of money when I was in Jamaica because people stole it.
No.
As happens when you travel. And then I still had my laptop, so I posted on LinkedIn, like, okay, I'm willing to learn code for money. And then all these companies started approaching me for traineeship. And I did not understand what low code was at all. And now I throw the term to people all the time, and then they look at me the way I looked at people doing it to me back then. But I ended up doing a traineeship just because I didn't know what to do. If not research, then what?
And when you your money's been stolen, you're looking for opportunities, and traineeships, what kind of attracted you to pick low code over going down the traditional kind of, road?
So my approach was, because I had like a time difference, so every day I would wake up with new recruiters or people being like, hey, we saw your post, and everything kind of sounded similar to me. So I also had these WhatsApp calls, people trying to explain, like, what is consultancy, what is information analyst, because I also did a bunch of interviews for that. Then some high code indeed, and low code. Very, very honestly, I just picked the low code because it was the first one that would get me a job and pay.
Okay,
Because they all sounded like
that's important,
because I was back from traveling, I didn't have any money, and I was like, okay, I don't know the difference, I don't really understand, so I think I should just do it. I think the information analyst, all the ones that were more with writing ideas, writing concepts, proposals, etc. I already realized, like, no, I really want that feeling that I had when I was in university, that I had to do a MATLAB assignment or R. I really want that. So it was either high code or low code, and then Mendix was the first one I had it. Well, Mendix didn't have it, but the Mendix traineeship was the first one that that started, and that would also pay out. So
and how was that kind of process when you started the traineeship? How was the process of learning Mendix for you? Any difficulties? Was it quite straightforward? Did you find it quite easy to pick up?
I did not find it super easy. No. I remember that, we also heard somewhere, I don't remember where, people saying, it's the Photoshop for app development. I wasn't good at Photoshop either, so I don't know why I was like, so it was a very long program. I had to go to Rotterdam every day because it was before Corona, so everything was still real life. So I wake up super early, and you're in this class with people from all different backgrounds. Some people just came from university. Some people already had like years of corporate experience, and they just wanted to switch. So that was really nice. First, we had soft skills. I did not understand Agile Scrum either. Like that for me was a mystery until I started actually working. But specifically the Mendix part, it was a lot more technical than I thought. And a lot of things were really nice, like starting with the pages. But on the other hand, it was a bit confusing because you could kind of get away with not understanding it and build a lot, and then all of a sudden you would get stuck when you're confident. So it was for example, for me at some point I got a little scared, like not daring to ask what a parameter is, all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a bunch of technical terms that if you're really not technical, you should actually maybe just know or get a different introduction before Mendix already. Yeah.
And when you were kind of learning, was there kind of, any mentors or anyone kind of quite crucial to help your development?
Well, during the training, we just had our trainers. They were for Mendix themselves. We had two because one had to leave for personal things, so otherwise there would just be one. And then the first one we had, the first app that we had to make was one by ourselves, that we also had to choose ourselves how to do it, and what we wanted to build. So that was really cool. But on the other hand, you make it way too big and then you end up only building one calendar or something. Then the second one was already in group, so I think I learned more from the people who already understood it a lot better than me. And when I actually got hired at the COA, which was my first job, the central, I don't even know how to say it in English. It's the organization from the Dutch government where they take care of all the housing for refugees who enter the Netherlands. And there was just, I actually went with a person from my bootcamp. His name is Leonard. And I think he was a bit of my mentor because he understood a lot more than me to begin with. And then over there was a bunch of senior developers. And I think for me, I learned a lot from a guy named Sanjay. He was working at, and he was very good at explaining things, being very patient, even though the questions I asked, when I think back now, I might have gotten a little impatient if I were him. At some point. He taught me a lot.
Do you feel, there's this thing about obviously low code, it's great for people with this traditional background, but it can also work for people who want to do a switch and come from a total different background. Do you feel, if the people that kind of had that background already compared to you, kind of, it was a lot easier for them to pick it up because they'd studied it for such a long time?
Yes. I think so. You do have a benefit if you already understand what computers need, basically how the whole process of data through computers to the software, how it works and what a database is. We learned it, but it was still a concept. It wasn't reality. So if you already understand that, then it's for me just a matter of, well, instead of writing it yourself, you know exactly what logic to pick, but you already understood that. So it's just like how to find it in your platform is very different than, still needing to understand like what is data and what is this whole object? What are the objects? What is happening? Definitely.
Yeah. And you're currently at the Low Code Academy. Can you talk me through, your role there? Kind of, what you do there?
Yeah, I've had very different tasks there, different roles. I was hired at the beginning as a trainer, but I actually ended up teaching a group of people a traineeship. No, sorry, an internship after they already did the bootcamp with one of my colleagues at Low Code Academy. So that was more of a coaching situation because they had already learned the basics, and then I started making some workshops. Because I think a lot of educators focus a lot on like reschooling. So let's get the basics of Mendix under control. And then the place you work will do the rest, like the Sanjays and the Leonards of this world will do the rest. So your senior colleagues. But the truth is that nobody knows everything because everyone had their own journey. And some people will come from tech, and some people will come from a different background and end up working in one company for, I don't know, 7 years. And that's how they learned all about Mendix. But if someone didn't tell them, then they will not have that knowledge either. So basically everyone has their own set of knowledge and skills. So we were trying to get those together, like for most of the people, most of the experts, and also the documentation that's out there, and create some more advanced workshops on specific topics that come back. So my first one was about test automation and how to build, specifically in Mendix, the microflows in a way that you can actually use it for test automation. Also get people a bit more familiar with things like what is a unit test, what is a component test process, and what are the consequences if you just keep adding logic to this one microflow. And then learning how to refactor if you already did that, and your colleagues. And I actually had a lot of classes on that at COA from a company that was also working there. So I was very passionate about that already. And from one thing led to another, so then I ended up making a bunch more on those type of topics like performance. I don't remember the other one I did, but there were a bunch.
It must be nice for you that obviously you started off as a trainee yourself, and now everything you've learned, it's like kind of, people say I get to give back, right? So you're kind of meeting people who may be in a situation that what's the timeline from you becoming a trainee to the trainer?
I think it was 2.5 or 3 years.
Wow,
something like that.
That's really quick. That's really good. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
So it must be nice for you to, if you think about being stuck in Jamaica to now, that obviously that moment obviously defined part of your career, right? Because if your money doesn't get stolen, you continue traveling, and who knows, right? So that obviously was meant to happen, right? And then now you're kind of training people who, they may have already had a tech background, but also it must be for people who have a background like yourself, who may not know what they wanted to do, or may have a totally different skill set, to have a trainer who's also got that kind of experience themselves.
I believe, especially for the non-tech people, it can really help, because I will know the things that, like, usually the things where they get stuck, I'm like, I get you, because I have had the exact same thing. You do not understand the words that were chosen here. Even the errors in Mendix, they will say like, expect an object of type something, but it is of type something. Makes total sense if you get it. If you don't get it, you just get so frustrated. So it does feel really it feels good to empower people and make them know that they're not stupid. They just missing this little link, because I had the same. Definitely.
And I guess with the more kind of trainers who have the technical background, when they're training, obviously these terms, they don't think to stop, because they just assume, okay, you know this, right? So with you, like you said, there's kind of, you might say something, actually there was one point where I didn't really know what this meant, so I can stop and kind of focus on this a bit more, so they really understand. So it's a deeper level of training.
I hope so, of course. I don't know if everyone experienced it that way. Some people understand it very well, and they're like, yes, you don't have to explain that. It's a personal thing too, I think. But definitely. And I think, because one of the things that I find super important is that the world of tech is very much dominated by people who are very privileged in general. They've had good education. Usually it's men, usually it's white men, who feel like they belong in tech, so they will study tech and they will end up getting the good jobs in tech, which also means that a lot of the software that everyone uses in the world is made by this one group that has this one perspective, because that's just how people think. You think out of your own reality and your own truth. And for me, getting it a little bit more accessible for other groups that might think that they are stupid because they don't belong, is very is important, not only for some individuals, but also for the quality of the whole applications that we all use, because they should be for everyone.
And I think it's about also breaking that kind of the mold, right? The whole intimidation side of, if we focus on women in tech, for example, there's a whole, because it's been done that way for so long that it's dominated by males. It's great that someone like yourself, and there's initiatives like that you're part of, low code ladies and things like that. That's really pushing women in this space. To say we can also stand up and do these things.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, there's not that many tech leads yet that are women at the moment. So I think now we are in the place where there's still this whole prejudice that women will be really good at styling and that they like making things pretty, for example.
Yeah.
Which is because there's also a stereotype that men are more technical than women. Which is also weird because styling in Mendix is usually more technical than the rest of the building.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a contradictory. You're like, okay, so but also it's not at all true. It's not true that women prefer styling and men prefer data and logic. It's so there's even within everything that is going well, there are still some weird stereotypes, I think. But at least getting everyone together, like people representing all groups of society, is already the first start. And then getting more confident while doing it, trying to ask what is a parameter at some point. Instead of just going, yeah, I'll fake it till I make it.
Yeah, I'll Google it later. Yeah.
I'm gonna check on the forum, but no one's because everyone knows. Yes, I think that's the next step, kind of changing the culture of. But I don't think it's specific to low code. But I think in general, experts are seen as these like gods, and then the people who don't know a lot, they should just kind of be humble, even though the people who don't know a lot about something specific might have a lot to add with the things that they do already know. Yeah.
There's always value add. It just depends on how you see it, right?
Yeah, it's not only like technical. Yeah, you can learn a lot, but you already come with a lot that added.
Exactly. And talking about the platform itself, you've been working with the platform for a while now. Can you tell me, from the features that the platform offers, is there certain features that you enjoy working with and enjoy kind of doing, and kind of you really feel, even obviously there's always updates to the platform. Is there certain things that have been updated or already from when you were beginning to use it you've enjoyed working with? Obviously not styling.
No. Styling. Well, the point with styling for me is that I can learn, of course, how to do CSS. At my second job, the one guy that was really good at styling, he left the company, and then he taught me, and I got kind of also about the JavaScript, like how to make moving animations and everything. I got really enthusiastic, but I'm just not very good at making things pretty if I have to decide how it looks. So there's this creative barrier on I will say my back end looks prettier than my front end, but if someone knows exactly what they want, of course I could learn, but that's basically it's not so much Mendix anymore. So I would not say like, oh, if you love styling, use Mendix platform. If you want all these moving things, maybe not Mendix. So I learned it in Mendix 7, which, unpopular opinion, is still my favorite version. Maybe it's a bit nostalgic, but there's been a bunch of change. It's going really fast now. I feel maybe I'm old now, but I feel like it didn't used to update so fast. Like you could stay in one version a lot longer. And now they're just throwing these features. Some are really cool, but I haven't even checked all of them out because it's going very, very fast. My favorite is just the basics of Mendix, which will always be the same, which just the microflows. I think the basics for me haven't really changed. So what I love about Mendix is still the same as what I loved about it when it was in Mendix 7. But I see a lot of new things happening, especially with the assistants. I have to say it's valuable because it does give you more it tells you where to look, where to be extra cautious and put some focus before you just commit it. But they're not always right. So sometimes you build something in a certain context, and for what you want to do, the suggestions from the bot are like, they don't make any sense. So I haven't been using those a lot.
Yeah, and I was going to touch on that because obviously, Mendix has released Maya, and AI is the kind of the buzz, right? Everyone's kind of, if you're not doing something with AI, then you're going to be left behind. And as someone who is a trainer and would be training people who are obviously starting off their career in this kind of phase of where AI is kind of really dominant, do you feel there's a cause of, like what you said, where a junior developer can be stuck and learn a lot of bad habits relying too much on the assistants?
Yeah, I mean, probably people will even say this about low code in general already. That if you don't know how to do everything yourself, then you always end up relying on someone else.
Yeah.
I do believe it to be true, that saying. I mean, at some point, we're not all building in zeros and ones. So every person who is now developing software is already relying on someone else who made a program that is a little bit more user-friendly than only zeros and ones.
Sure.
I do believe, like, the more years that I spent building apps in low code, I think once you need to understand more, you keep learning more about high code before you learn more about AI. The problem with AI for me is not specifically to low code, but everywhere in life. Somebody has to learn and somebody has to evolve. So if we as humans find out things, we start researching, we put everything, the data, the information gets into our brain, and we are the instance that is learning something. But if you throw everything into AI, then maybe you get what you want, but you really, like, AI is the one that actually evolved and learned and developed, and we stay as dumb as we were before. So I do feel like if you do everything with AI, you can get to your end goal, but at some point you will not develop a lot anymore. And then if something becomes, you will not be able to optimize solutions. And there's been a lot of research on products being made by either generative AI or by humans. The quality of humans is almost always rated higher than of AI. So I think it's the same for software solutions. You will get the job done, maybe, but it might not be the optimal solution either.
And talking about the platform, is there anything kind of that you feel the platform still doesn't offer, that like a frustration, for example, that you'd like to see released sometime in the future?
Well, from my recent building experience, and I have a woman in my bootcamp right now, her name is Claudia, and she is a high coder. So we've been looking at a lot of front end things. I think front end is where, I cannot speak for the other low-code platforms, but for in Mendix, it's not. I think when you want to do, like, if you want to show a lot of different data in a specific context, and it's really difficult, if not impossible, to create it in Mendix itself. So you're going to have to get some kind of React Native or JavaScript widget. Which is why a lot of people who started with Mendix end up learning more about those, because in the front end, in the end, it's really good for data. It's a really powerful tool. But end users want to see flashy stuff and want to see stuff that is in a certain visual context. And I do feel that Mendix can improve there. And I don't know if everyone learning React Native or they offer more widgets is the solution. Not sure yet. But maybe it will be possible to for Mendix to offer more of these visual, like widgets that you can put in without installing them. Like, they will be part of the platform. And also, this is something that Mendix used to have, and they actually got rid of it, which is this more complex math module. So there's a lot of calculations that you cannot do in your logic. And there was a perfect module. and they actually stopped supporting it. So I'm just gonna throw that
Okay.
out there. It would be great if that. Yeah. Yes.
Wow. And in your training, you've mentioned someone you're training, and that's a frustration for them. In the time of training people, is there kind of can be more than one, or just a like a success story of someone with a very interesting background that you may have trained, which has gone on to become a Mendix developer.
Actually, yeah, a lot of people come from different backgrounds, of course. I just mentioned Claudia, who comes from HICO. She will work at the company where she already works.
Yeah.
Then one of the more memorable people that we trained was a woman named Sophie, and she actually worked at Stichting AAP before, which is a Dutch organization that takes care of monkeys. Like they are like the monkey center, like rescue center, I think.
Yeah.
So she used to work there, and then she ended up being unemployed for a while, and then she did a traineeship and ended up learning Mendix, and now she's a consultant. For me, that was kind of cool. Like, okay, one day you're working with monkeys.
Yeah.
Next day you're clicking an app. Yeah. And then I mentioned her before in our chats because I've been recently. She lives really close to me actually. Is a woman named Ahlam. I did not teach her the bootcamp, so she could already do a little bit of Mendix, but she was in my in the internship part. So I met her when she had already done the bootcamp, but she was with a group of people who still didn't have a job yet. And she had, for me, a very interesting story because she came from Syria, firstly. She was not the only person in the group because it was a group of people a lot of people from Turkey, a lot of refugees, from Turkey, from Syria, of course. But what is cool about that is that at some point I started talking with her, and she also spoke Spanish fluently. So I was like, oh, okay, because I learned it on my travels in South America. So it's like, okay, what is going on here? I did not expect this from a person from Syria. Arabic, and I heard that you speak English. We're speaking English. And then she mentioned, oh, I've been living in Venezuela for a long time as well. Her and her husband. And I think she had a background in banking, and then in Venezuela they actually owned a department store or something, or they tried, and then they couldn't stay there because of visa issues. Then she came to the Netherlands, and then she ended up being a Mendix developer. So it's very diverse.
Very.
He might have been one of those people, just like what I say about myself, like, what is a parameter? Like, if someone explains it very well, then you know. Now she has a job at the Rabobank, which is really cool. And she was also at the Low Code Ladies event this Sunday. So I find it kind of cool to and I run into her when I walk my dog sometimes as well.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Sometimes all of a sudden.
And you mentioned obviously there's a people who when we were talking about AI that people probably have still have this perception of low code where it's kind of drag and drop in and kind of you can't really the control side. What's your kind of message to those? And even I don't know if you've come across people in your class who they might be doing the training, but they're still very skeptical of low code. What's your kind of message to those?
Well, first, of course, you need to hear people's arguments, because some skepticism, I think, is grounded and some is not. What I think is what a very human trait is to always criticize what you don't know. So every generation in history as well, people always say that things were better before. And people don't like change. People don't like what they don't know because you don't know what to expect. It's the same in the Netherlands. People do not want to drive an automatic car. They really want to do the shift because that's just how they learned it, and they're just to use the shift. and they don't really have a reason. They're just like, yeah, you're more in control. But if and then if the car actually functions better, it saves more gas. If it's automatic, then you really, for me, it makes no sense anymore to drive a stick. But I think for low code, high code, it might be the same. Like for me, the reasoning, like if you are going to rewrite the same piece of code every time for certain logic that you need to do every time, just because you want to prove to yourself that you can still do it, to me that makes no sense. But as I mentioned before, especially some front end things, I mean, I cannot prove them wrong, because I have to sometimes get someone to help me do some high code. But no solution is perfect. So what I definitely like to say to skeptics is, well, firstly, why? Hear the arguments, but I think it really depends on the type of software that you want to build with it. So if you're, for example, if a person says like, oh, we're going to build Instagram now in low code, I get the skepticism a lot there. But I do feel like if you're skeptic about anything, but especially low code, since it has been proven to be quite successful, is maybe filter the arguments a little bit, and then there's room for it, but there's also room, of course, for high code still, and for generative AI as well. It's all there. It will not go anywhere.
Definitely. And is there any you touched on it a little bit earlier, is there any kind of initiatives that you're involved in, or you're passionate about, that you'd like to speak about?
Yes, well, there is, of course, the low code ladies, which you also, I saw you were actively tagging us as well on LinkedIn. So the low code ladies was an initiative started by Kasia, who you also had here in the podcast, I think. Yeah, she's super active in communities as well. So she actually started this initiative, thinking like, okay, but apparently people do feel maybe they're not part of the community, which, to be honest, I also had a little bit myself, because you always go to these meetups, and it feels like it's this group of people that all know each other, and they all start talking about things that are not always so interesting somehow. It's a lot about car racing. It's just a lot about formula. It's just, I don't want to stereotype, but it's just, for me, it was not
football
always
and cars.
Yes. It's all and beer. And of course, every person, man, woman, and anything else can like football and beer, but and pizza. But I just don't. So it was when she did a questionnaire, I was like, maybe I don't. I don't really feel that much part of the community, in fact. And I never really realized during all my years of development that I've always been the only woman in the development teams, and that I've also been, maybe have been more insecure, maybe also by certain people, not that they did it consciously, but maybe I did feel a bit scared to try things, to make mistakes, etc., because there's this certain atmosphere going on, and she was very eager to kind of find out if it's there, and then if it's there, how can we change it. So we definitely concluded that in low code it is also there, the same fear, the imposter syndrome, etc. So we kind of started with a group of Mendix women who work at or with Mendix, because that's our network. But now we actually have a woman from OutSystems, Sneh, involved as well.
I know Sneh.
I really like her. I saw a talk from her the other day about impact as well. She has a really good input, and I'm very happy that she's part of the group. And now we also have a woman. She hasn't been giving a lot of input yet because she just joined, but she's from the Power Apps from Microsoft, Natalie Leenders. So we're at our meetup this Sunday. We actually discussed, maybe we can do this and this and this platform as well. So it will expand, and it was really great to meet some women as well on Sunday. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was really cool. I was like, okay, if more real Mendix meetups would be like this, I would
Yeah.
probably enjoy going to them. Like different topics,
Yeah.
maybe more
Yeah.
work related, like but socially work related things as
Mm.
well,
Yeah.
phenomena happening. Yeah, it was really cool. So yeah, it's still in the start, but yeah, please keep supporting us and follow, and tell us if you have any initiatives or if you would like
Yeah.
to support, because we will need supporters, let's say that,
Yeah, of
to grow
course.
the
I,
community.
I think it's great that you're not, because I think a lot of communities within low code, I think all of them focus on their own platform. I think from the ones I know, you're probably the one of the rare ones I've gone outside of your platform, because obviously there's this rivalry with, red and blue and all this kind of thing, right? And it's great that you've kind of broken that mold of you're promoting all women in low code, not just women in Mendix. You obviously you've realized, that, like you said, this problem is not even just in low code, it's multiple industries, right? So you're taking low code as a whole rather than just Mendix, which is really good to see.
Yeah, it is thanks for noticing. Yeah, no, yeah, we discussed it before, and in the end we don't all work at that platform, and
Yeah.
it's just a coincidence where you end up, probably. Like, for
Yeah.
example, if the OutSystems traineeship would have been there instead of Mendix, then that would have been my
You never
people.
know. Yeah.
Might be in the same situation. So I think for us, as well, users of the platforms, we are still kind of in the same situation, no matter if we drag and drop, blue blocks, or if it
Yeah.
has a red logo. It doesn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah. Exactly.
Of course, I do have to say that the different platforms are all doing things in their own way for inclusion.
Yeah.
So what is really extra value for adding people from the different platforms is that everyone is trying things, of course,
Yeah.
because everyone
Yeah.
wants to improve. So now it does feel like we're not all trying to invent everything on our own, which is already
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
probably will be more added value.
Amazing.
And just a bigger
Amazing.
network, also nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And just personally for yourself, any aspirations that or goals you're looking to kind of achieve in the next year or 2 years or 3 years that you'd like to kind of, personal goals that you have for yourself?
Well, my personality is very much my business now. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of a workaholic. So my personal aspirations, well, they actually come close to what we already just mentioned about several platforms.
Yeah.
We, as Low Code Academy, of course, we are not called the Mendix Academy. We are called
Yeah.
the Low Code Academy.
Yeah.
So a few things that we really want to do is, I created this hybrid bootcamp before, which means that people can now do it in their own time. Trainers can use our content, so you don't
Yeah.
need to follow a full-blown bootcamp from start to finish with us.
Sure.
So firstly, because our knowledge is in Mendix, we want to expand with
Sure.
continuous learning. So have people not only do learning paths, which is mostly click here, click there. Now you see how it works. If it clicks, then you know how it works. Otherwise, you just clicked, which is great introduction to where to find stuff. But we want to offer like a range of exercises from easy to really difficult, to learn about security, styling, performance, like all bunch of different ways. But we would also really like to teach other, like do this hybrid bootcamp situation, and then maybe also some continuous learning for different platforms.
Yeah.
So that's basically our goal and my personal goal, would definitely be 1 or 2 more hybrid bootcamps for some other platforms. That. And also, this is the other one that I wanted to mention as well. We also work with this organization. It's based in Amsterdam, and it's called Tech Me Up. And so our goal is to educate more people who are who are farther distant from tech at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is really difficult for people, because if you don't have, if you're not from a rich family, you don't have like thousands of euros to do a bootcamp.
Yeah.
Then you're basically stuck where you are.
Yeah.
So what TechMeUp that does is that they offer interest-free loans so that people can reschool.
Yeah.
And then once you get a job, you get salary, and then you pay a percentage back when you
wow,
can.
that's really good. Yeah.
So we really want to educate more people through TechMeUp. And it would be great to get more like worldwide organizations for this, because this is just the Netherlands. But getting more people from there. It's a diverse crowd. It's also sometimes refugees, but it's also people like the woman from Stichting Aap. She was not from there, but it's the same type of people in the same situation. Also people who were, a lot of mothers who were like, I cannot do it because I have children and I cannot do full-time education. They will support, so you can get some money to support your kids, get the loan, and then do a part-time education. So
that's really good initiative. Actually, it like you said, it really gives an option to those who think maybe one, I can't afford it, or two, it's just not something I'll be able to do financially. So at least it takes that stress away that they can do it, and then there's no stress. You pay it off obviously when you've secured a job.
Yeah, I think it's a really good construction, because indeed, of course, you're going to work really hard to find a job because you want it. Otherwise, you wouldn't get started.
Of course, you wouldn't do the training in the first place. Yeah, exactly.
But life is. It's not like there's just a list of jobs and you can just pick one, and then it's just a matter of hard working. There's like so many factors that you have to consider, and you might just not be lucky. You might not be suited for things. You might not speak the right language, because a lot of Dutch companies, for example, they don't think English is enough. You need to speak Dutch. Well, I've been trying to learn
that all the time. Yeah.
I would not be able to do an education in Spanish now, even though I can talk to people.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. There's so many obstacles. So I feel like this way of getting a chance to make a change, and then working on it yourself, but also not feeling that pressure like, okay, people will be taking my television soon because I couldn't pay them back. It's a very good way to get more people involved.
Definitely. Amazing. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. It was great to talk to you and hear your very interesting journey and your kind of views on things. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun to discuss it.
Amazing. And maybe we speak again in the future to see kind of how things have evolved, even about low code ladies, and see where kind of things have gone from there, and we'll keep in touch, definitely.
Yes, and things will evolve. So yes.
I look forward to seeing that.
Are you going to be at the, no, probably not, in Amsterdam at the OutSystems one? You are? Oh, René, I will be there as well.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So I'll see you there.
I'll meet you in real life there.
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to today's episode, which is brought to you by ITRAC. We are a leading staffing firm that solely specializes in supplying both contract and permanent low-code professionals to organizations globally. Navigating the niche landscape of the low-code market requires the best talent, and we recognize its critical importance for our clients. Whether you're a company looking to strengthen your team, an individual seeking the next career move, or someone entirely new to the world of low-code, we're here for you. Our extensive experience and in-depth market knowledge enables us to quickly pinpoint the ideal candidates while offering expert advice and support at every stage of your low-code journey. Reach out to us through our website or connect with me directly on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to assist you. Thank you once again for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another insightful episode. Until then, take care.